Hello, beautiful yogis. Namaste. So today, we're actually going to talk about some options, some things we can do so that every single body can practice yoga, even if you have some pain in your wrist, maybe some past injuries in the wrist, or any type of chronic pain here. If you missed the video on the foundations of the hands, this is going to be really good information for you guys especially, so make sure you click that link below and check out the foundations for the hands. Okay, when you have wrist pain, a lot of yoga practices can seem really out of reach. I know for me, when I have rheumatoid arthritis, and when it was at its peak, at its worst, I could barely grab a pen or roll my wrist. So the idea of getting on the floor and putting my weight on my hands seemed crazy. And so what I'm here to tell you is yoga therapy tip 101 is that immobility makes it worse. So when you find that you're having a little bit of inflammation in the joint, a little bit of pain in the joint, it's so important that you keep the faith alive and you keep moving your joints. So this is first and foremost. And I know all of us are at different kind of levels with our pain and where our bodies are on any given day. Like for me sometimes, to move my wrist means that I'm simply gonna compress and extend. So maybe it's just a squeezing really tight, a tight compression in the hand, and then extending the energy like I'm flicking it away. So this might be all that I can do that day, but it's important yoga for my hands. The next stage, like if you've got the health in the wrists and the mobility to take it a little further, is to start to roll the wrist. So Padma-Muktasana, the rolling of the joints, it is a phenomenal technique that can really give you amazing results if you take the time. So Padma-Muktasana, the rolling of the joints, we'll stick with just the wrist for now, but it allows you to move the wrist in all the directions that it goes. So rolling in one way and then the other can be really, really helpful to soothe that joint pain. Now, if you're in a stage where any bit of pressure is too much, then there's lots of different modifications that you can do in your yoga practice where you don't have to be on the wrist at all. Like we can modify your sun salutations. There's lots of different ways to do it, and we'll put that in a separate video because it's a whole another tutorial. But for right now, what we'll stick to is just some things to do to help ease the pain and how to modify on the mat. So again, as you're rolling your joints, you can start to lubricate them, which can feel really, really nice. I would experiment with taking your fingers in different orientations. So there's a lot of nerve endings in the hands, and oftentimes the nerves can get wrapped around the little muscles, and it's one of the reasons you have such limited mobility in the wrist. Everything's kind of in tight quarters. So when you can experiment with the different positions of the fingers while you make the rolls, you may notice that it's a very different feeling, a very different stretch with totally different results. So experiment with the fist tight, with it more loose, kind of like a claw, with the fingers spread like jazz hands, active, maybe with a relaxed hand but fingers open. So these are all just different ways to approach the same roll, I guess. But depending on your body, one might be way more poignant for you. So just experiment and see. And don't assume that what happens on the right is going to happen on the left. It's two totally unique sides of the body. So just feel that openness to experiment and kind of cultivate some contentment with whatever we're finding on either side. Aside from the rolling, once we get that going, we get it a little bit loose, then we can move into something a little more intense, the nerve stretches. So with these, you really want to, it's all about intention, right? So I can just stick my arm out and it's just an arm that's sticking out. Or I can really press energy, like feel it come from deep in my armpit, all the way out through the heel of my hand. And when I really feel that pressing, and I'm visualizing a wall that I'm pressing away from me, it fully changes the benefits of the nerve stretch. So nerve stretching in the wrist is really nice and easy, just pressing the palms away. And then when you bend the wrist, when you bend it down, now you're reaching through the wrist. So again, still pressing. So either pressing heel of the hand or pressing the top of the wrist away, you're getting that really good nerve stretch through the arm, which is gonna loosen up the wrist and help decrease the inflammation. So a couple of quick exercises that I already mentioned was you're rolling in different ways, you're pressing and doing the nerve stretches. Another thing that I will speak about is not just physically what we can do, but some of the other practices you can do that are off the mat. So with any type of inflammation, especially in the wrists, you can use some topical essential oils. So things like clove oil, lavender oil, even peppermint oil can be really soothing to put topically on the wrist. Just be careful if you guys have any sensitivity to oil. You may want to cut it with some type of carrier oil, like an organic coconut oil or almond oil, something like this. But yeah, anything you can do to rub topically on the wrist. I know for myself, I love to get those compression sleeves, and I'll put the oil on and the compression sleeve over it, and maybe like sleep like this, or just work on my computer with that on for a while. So it really helps me. And then, of course, if you get a good enough grade of essential oil, all the same ones I mentioned, you can actually ingest. So like a couple drops of clove in my tea will really help me on my more aggressive inflammation days. The main thing I really want you guys to walk away with here is that just because we have a little bit of aches and pains, or just because our body might be producing a lot of rheumatoid or whatever it is that's causing these aches and pains, it doesn't mean our practice has to stop. In fact, that's really when it gets very creative and really begins, is when we actually take the time to notice like what we're needing, and then we make the adaptations and the adjustments to give ourselves just that. So keep practicing no matter what. There's always a beautiful practice for everybody in every state of being, no matter what's going on. So namaste, good luck. I hope these practices work for you.